Hello everyone and welcome back to this channel. This is part 2 in the video series of analyzing Sonnet 130 by William Shakespeare. In today's lesson, we'll be looking at sample exam questions. Now, if you're tuning in, you're most probably part of Hello everyone and welcome back to this channel. This is part 2 in the video series of analyzing Sonnet 130 by William Shakespeare. In today's lesson, we are going to look at sample exam questions. Now, if you have tuned in, I'm sure you know by now that this year's matrics, you guys are studying or analyzing new poetry for the year for English home language. So the matrics for the past 5-6 years, they were studying a different set of poems. So of course with them, there were many past papers that one could refer to. Now in this video, I've drawn up some sample exam questions. There are no official past papers yet that we can look at. So in today's video, we're just going to look at how to answer poetry questions in your paper 2, that's section A of your exam. Oftentimes I make a reference to my learners that, it's not that they or you don't know the content knowledge, you don't understand the poem. It's just sometimes it's hard to relay your ideas on paper, right? So oftentimes in class, you might be able to answer, or when you're studying, you understand the poem wholeheartedly and you're able to verbally communicate what is going on in the poem or verbally answer, right? But the minute you sit down in that exam, depending on whatever is affecting you in the exam, you might not be able to effectively answer. So in today's lesson, as I said, we are going to look at some sample exam questions and just what you need to look at in order to answer effectively. Okay, let's jump right into it. So first things first, grade 12s, always look at your mark allocation. So on the right hand side there, you see that question 1 is out of 2 marks, right? So what does that mean? You need to give 2 ideas, 2 distinct points, 2 sentences maybe, in relation to whatever is asked, right? You can't just answer with 1 word. You can't just give 1 idea or 1 point, right? So always 2 marks to effectively identify the answer, right? I hope I'm making sense, but as we go through it, you should understand what I'm saying. Okay, so let's look at number 1. It says, refer to line 1. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Comment on the unconventional way the speaker begins this poem. So I'm sure you all should know by now how to answer this question. If not, perhaps pause this video and go back to part 1 of in this video series, Sonnet 130, the line by line analysis, and just see if you forgot what is actually going on in line 1. Go back to that video and check. But nonetheless, let's look at the question once again. Comment on the unconventional way the speaker begins this poem. So 2 marks, 2 points. The speaker begins this poem with a simile, we all know. However, the speaker states that his beloved's eyes cannot be compared to the sun. This is an unique way and unconventional way to begin a love poem. I see there's a mistake there, it's supposed to be an unique, because during the Elizabethan era, love poems often exaggerated and provided insincere descriptions of the women of that time. Alright? So remember, that's just a weird way to start a love poem, because the speaker should have said, my mistress's eyes are like the sun. Right? But the word nothing is throwing us off there. Okay, number 2, account for. So grade 12s, you'll often see the phrase account for in your English exam. So account for means explain. So you need to explain why the speaker makes reference to the colors red and white. Now remember, I said 2 marks, 2 points, 2 sentences, 2 ideas. You can't just say that red means she has red lipstick. I'm just giving something random. Or white is the color of her skin. That's not going to give you the mark in the exam, right? Your answers mustn't be surface level, right? You need to unpack what is going on. You need to explain effectively. So let's look at a sample answer. During the Elizabethan era, it was considered an ideal beauty standard for women to have red lips to depict their passion and white skin to depict the purity. However, the speaker reveals that his beloved does not fit within, that particular beauty standard. Okay, question 3, also 2 marks. Refer to line 6, but no such roses I see in her cheeks. What impression does the speaker create of his beloved? So again, what impression means what idea, what is your understanding? When you read line 6, what is your understanding of the speaker's beloved or the woman he loves, his mistress? What do you understand? Okay, so let's see what idea, what impression. The speaker reveals another ideal beauty standard of Elizabethan society, which was that women had to have rosy cheeks. However, the impression the speaker creates is that his beloved is not beautiful nor youthful, right? So she doesn't have roses in her cheeks, she doesn't have rosy cheeks, meaning she doesn't look beautiful or youthful, right? Number 4. Refer to line 11 to 12. I grant I never saw a goddess girl. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. Also 2 marks, but here you need to comment on the effectiveness of the use of alliteration. So you can kind of break that up. Comment, what is the effectiveness? What is the alliteration? But now, before we go to the answer, effectiveness, what does that mean? Right? They often always ask you this in your English home language exam. So effectiveness, I always tell my learners to think of it like this. If it is effective, it means does it correspond? Does it fit together? So oftentimes there will always be 2 things that need to fit in together, meaning is it effective? Does the one fit in with the other? Does the one correspond? Is it appropriate? They can also ask you that in the exam. Comment on the appropriateness of the alliteration, right? So effectiveness, think of it like this. Now, I often use this bad example. Think of advertising, right? Let's say that the advertiser wants to present the message that smoking kills, right? Smoking is bad for you. And on the advert, there's a cigarette box there, and there's a picture, the caption is smoking kills, and there's a picture of a pregnant woman smoking, right? Is that effective? Does the picture or the image of the pregnant woman standing smoking fit in with the caption, smoking kills? No, it's not appropriate. It's not effective. It doesn't fit together, right? But let's say, for example, the caption is still smoking kills, and there's a picture of black lungs on that advert. Right? Is that effective? Yes, because it does fit together, right? Now the same here, and the same in your poetry. You always have to either compare 2 things or see if these 2 ideas or these 2 instances kind of fit together. Does the sound device fit in with what is being said? Does the imagery fit in with what is being said? Various things they can ask you, right? So let's go back to this one over here. Comment on the effectiveness of the use of alliteration. You can't just say the speaker is using alliteration. Why? Right? What is being said in the line, and does the repeated sound, right, fit in with what is being said? So let's look at it. I grant I never saw a goddess go. So here the speaker is saying that he has never seen a goddess, a female goddess, a female god walk on earth before, right? That is in essence what he's saying. But he used the word grant, he used the word goddess, and he used the word go specifically, right? And that is used for that hard G sound, right? So yes, it is effective, right? On the one side, we have the sounds fitting in with how the mistress is walking, right? And you need to explain that in your answer for 2 marks. So let's check how to do it. In line 11, the speaker states that his beloved does not float like a goddess, or she does not walk gracefully, or she's walking very hard on the floor, right? And the use of alliteration in line 12 is effective. Sorry, I don't know why is effective is there twice, because the repetition of the hard G sound reinforces the idea of how hard his beloved is walking in line 12. Okay, and there's another one, 4.2. Refer to line 12. Critically discuss the effectiveness of the pace of the line. So now we're looking at line 12. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. So as I said, you should be familiar with the analysis. I did explain this in the video before. So what's happening in line 12? In line 12, the speaker states that there is nothing special about the way his his beloved walks, sorry, as she walks heavily on the ground. In this line, the speaker makes use of monosyllabic words, which slows the pace of the poem down. See, I'll just go up again. Right there, he says, when she walks, treads on the ground. One syllable for each of those words. So this poem is kind of slowing down there, right? And it's also effective. This is 3 marks. The use of the slower pace is effective, right? As it contributes to the image of his beloved walking being heavy. Okay, so I hope you understand that. Okay, question 5. Critically discuss how the sensory images. Now, sensory images means your senses. So it's see, touch, smell, taste, and hearing. Okay, so you need to refer to some of those from the poem. So you need to look at lines 1 to 12, right? See which senses can you highlight. So now you read lines 1 to 12 and say, okay, this is about sound, this is about smell, this is about touch or whatever, right? And then once you identify those senses, you need to how does those senses convey the speaker's message about true love, not having false comparisons? Okay, so that's a central idea or a central message question. Okay, so throughout the poem, the speaker makes reference to unconventional comparisons to describe his beloved. He describes her hairs. Remember, it's 3 marks, so you need to unpack the answer nicely. He describes her hairs as untidy, right? Meaning he sees her hairs and wiry in texture instead of straight, sleeky, and kept. Her breath, now we're looking at smells, reeks, and she creates a loud sound when she walks. Okay, so we refer to 3 different senses there, and now we need to look at the speaker's message about not having false comparisons for our 3rd mark. Despite having unflattering sensory images that the speaker used to describe his beloved, he still loves her. Okay, account for the use of the phrase by heaven. So what does the speaker say by heaven in line 13? The speaker uses the phrase by heaven to reveal a reference to God as the speaker swears by the Almighty to prove his sincerity. Okay. Critically discuss how the structure of this poem contributes to the speaker's central idea. So structure, we know that it is a Elizabethan sonnet. So how does that fit in with what the speaker is trying to say at the end of the poem? The central idea. So you need to say, this is what is happening in the structure of the poem, this is the central idea of the poem, and bring it together. Okay, you also need to identify what the central idea is. Okay, throughout the 3 quatrains, the speaker initially makes negative comparisons about his beloved through an unflattering list. However, in the rhyming couplet, the speaker reveals that he loves his beloved despite the negative comparisons, which are actually his realistic and unconventional views of her. Right? So structure, line 1 to 12, 3 quatrains, one thing happens, right? Rhyming couplet at the end, another thing happens. And now for the 3rd mark, you need to say, what is the central idea? The speaker's central idea is that his love for his beloved is rare because he does not create false comparisons of her, and instead, he loves her for who she truly is. Okay, critically discuss how the shift in tone throughout the poem contributes to the speaker's central idea. You always notice that the last question in your exam for the poetry section, right, for that 2.4, 3.4, 4.4, and sometimes even 5.4 has always got to do with some sort of central idea, central message. What is the core meaning of the poem, right? And you always have to identify that you also need to prove it through making reference to either diction or imagery or tone or whatever, right? So shifting tone means that there's one tone and another tone, 2 different tones in the poem. Okay, let me just go down. I must see my document is cutting off here. Okay, throughout lines 1 to 12, the speaker uses a critical, sarcastic, frank, abrasive, unflattering tone to describe his beloved's qualities. However, because there's a shift. In lines 13 to 14, the rhyming couplet of the poem, the speaker uses a sincere, heartfelt, and honest tone. The speaker's central idea is that his love for his beloved is rare because he does not create false comparisons of her, and instead he loves her for who she truly is. Okay, and the last question, grade 12, that we can look at, critically discuss how the concluding lines of the poem reinforce the speaker's central idea. So they like to ask this question at the end of the year. So let's look at 3 marks, right? So what you need to do. Okay, so it's kind of similar to the others that we've done, but now we only need to look at the concluding lines starting 13 to 14. Okay, throughout the poem, the speaker lists the many unpleasant and unflattering qualities of his beloved. Sorry, I see there's an error there. They establish beyond a doubt that the woman is very unattractive physically. The rhyming end couplet contradicts the speaker's attitude. Why? The words "and yet," and as he swears by heaven that his love for his mistress is rare. So he looks beyond the physical condition and loves that. And as we said, if we just look at the previous one, right, the speaker's central idea is that his love for his beloved is rare because he does not create false comparisons of her, and instead he loves her for who she truly is. Okay, grade 12. So I hope that this part 2 in your video series. Look, I can't guarantee that you will have these questions in your exam. Obviously, it's not good to spot the exam or to spot the test. But these, as I said, we are just looking at some ways on how to answer or how to approach these questions in your exam. Thank you very much for listening and for watching. In part 3, we are going to look at how to write a poetry essay, right, for Sonnet 130. So I hope you tune in and look out for that. As always, don't forget to give this video a nice like, thumbs up, right? Give a nice comment in the comment section. If you haven't by now, please subscribe to this channel because I'll be uploading some of the other or all of the other